Hi, it's me, Andrzej. We're starting a series talk about motorcycles at the BMW Urban Garage zone in Warsaw on the Wisła River at 6 Wieślawska Street. We'll be meeting here every Thursday, and you can drop by here. We'll high five, talk about motorcycles, and we'll always have some outstanding guests like him.
Warm welcome, Bartek Wiczyński.
Bartek Wiczyński, 22-time Polish champion.
Encircling the earth.
Yes, currently I am a BMW Sequoia rider, a true fan of the brand, but also of other brands as well.
Absolutely, yes. Come on in.
Bartek, I wanted to ask you, do you consider yourself a motorcyclist?
You see, that's a tough question. I know, am I that kind of person? A 100% motorcyclist? I definitely used to be one. Oh. Yes, I could honestly say that I really was one. A 100% motorcyclist, because first of all, I had a lot more time for it. And secondly, I was able to recognize every motorcycle, every model. I knew what motorcycle had what power, engine capacity, acceleration, and top speed. Że
You said there are people who might not know you. That's actually incredible. How many times did you win the title of Polish champion under that name? 3 or 4 times. You were the Polish champion in racing?
yes, once in those races, 5 times. But I was much more often than that. I was second many times. Even when I was first, I felt like I was second. So, that's how it is.
But constantly racing season show, many have you had already? Are you the most popular?
I think 22.
You've been racing for 22 years
Yes,
on the track?
yes.
And as a motorcyclist, you're kind of moderate.
Well, a motorcyclist should be understood in a broad sense too. Motorcycle trips, group rides. And unfortunately, even though I wanted to do it many times, even when I was younger and theoretically had more time, I still couldn't, because it was always either go on a trip or go to training. And that also created some differences in terms of fulfilling certain desires or not. Is a motorcyclist only strictly someone who rides on the track and not really, like me now, knows all the different models, or is a motorcycle? Someone who always feels that drive and passion well. In that sense, I am definitely a 100% motorcyclist, and my heart will always be with motorcycle. Even when I didn't ride a motorcycle on the road for many years, I missed it, so I bought myself a scooter. Well, it's a bit bigger, but still it's a scooter. Super scooters, super really. I mean, the fact is, let's not kid ourselves. With the kind of personality I have, I won't pretend that if I get on a 1000cc bike on the street, I'll ride it completely by the book and safely.
That's why scooters are for us.
Yes, that's why certain motorcycles which are great to ride on the track, but they're not necessarily for me to ride on the street. And that's something, well, you have to be honest and open about.
Exactly. And listen, because you said earlier that it's about letting off some steam or something. You're a bit of a hothead, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a little.
You're a bit of a hothead. Do you think that motorcycles make you more of a hothead? Or maybe just a little bit less, or do you let out your hotheadedness right there?
Yes, but that doesn't mean that when you get on a motorcycle, you ride nervously or take it out on the bike. It's just that some people are calm by a relaxed ride, even if they're just cruising on a scooter at 90 to 300 kilometers per hour.
Or touring the scenery?
Yes, touring. Or sometimes you just have to get on the track and you need that speed and that adrenaline. And then you really do calm down, the daily stress goes away and it's all released. So everyone has different needs. And unfortunately, probably due to getting older, you'll confirm that your point of view depends on where you sit and on what's actually on your mind at the moment and what your priorities are. That's why sometimes our approach to life just changes, and to the choice of a particular motorcycle and a particular way of spending time on that motorcycle.
And for me, just riding to work already gives me adrenaline, emotions, but when you ride on a racetrack for so long, then that adrenaline for me, yes, it's there at a certain level, but those real adrenaline rushes only happen in critical moments. Yes. So for example, for me, I don't know if it's the same for you. Riding on the track is more of a relaxation, almost like meditation, because you're so hyper-focused. And it's not about that craving anymore for adrenaline, but more about calming down, about concentration.
You're right, it's different. Me too. When I'm riding on the street, I've never been a good rider when it comes to the street in terms of taking risks. Unfortunately, I had too many limitations in my head, like crosswalks, sand, tram tracks. And I just couldn't overcome certain things, unlike on the track where I have the track all to myself, clean asphalt and perfect conditions. That allows me to really focus on riding and truly dedicate myself to going as fast as possible on the track and to set goals for myself, better lap times, more consistent pace and so on. So going back to your original question, when I am on the track, I truly de-stress from everything. The daily grind, from work, from responsibilities. But of course, it's also stressful. There's the pressure not to crash, not to damage the equipment, not to rack up costs, not to let the team down, and so on. Plus to set a good time, because I don't go to the track just for fun. Honestly, I'm not going to pretend, otherwise I'm not there just to ride around. You'll definitely never hear me say at the track, I didn't set a good time because today I'm just riding for practice, right? No, for me, whenever I go to a training session, I always have to set some kind of time, At the end of the day, of course, I'll make excuses too, like, listen, it just wasn't working for me here, my hand hurts, something else. Everyone has their own issues.
Come on, as long as there's no scratch. We have a mutual friend who remembers well, you said if a motorcycle doesn't have a scratch, it rides poorly for you.
Yeah.
That motorcycle needs to get its first scratch, and then you can really ride it.
Exactly. It's precisely the same situation with a brand new helmet when you acquire something new. That's just precisely how it is.
I've scraped along the asphalt a few times. Yeah, my head, just so it's only the helmet. Yeah.
It's often like that. There's this superstition that if you don't take a spill, you won't really start riding, right? Yeah, but hopefully as few of those as possible, crashes. Or if there is one, let it be a minor, harmless one, and also without any injuries. And still, despite everything, like I keep saying, priorities change in life and so does your approach. But even so, I haven't completely grown up, because what always amuses me most is that when I fall, I don't think about myself. I never think about myself, only about the motorcycle, what's going to happen to it, So I think I'm still, at least in terms of racing, in good shape, that this passion should continue. But from what I know, yes,
You're still relaxed after 22 years of racing, and you can still do a somersault, right?
I can do it, but I have problems for knee surgeries, things patched up here and there, but unfortunately that's just how it is. It's a sport that takes a toll on your health, whether you do it professionally or less professionally, but I don't regret it really. Would I do it again? Probably 10 times over, honestly.
Have you noticed how the motorcycle world has changed? When we were growing up, as we matured and entered that first stage where we could ride big motorcycles, what was it like back then? Japanese, 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 only Japanese, nothing else. And notice now, it's not about putting down BMW, because here at Dilamemi we have this arrangement that we talk about all motorcycles. But the fact is, Japanese motorcycles, they used to be the only ones, and now suddenly you have a whole spectrum of different ones.
You know what? That's not just because of... Apparently, somewhere along the line, the importers weren't as active either. Japanese importers entered the market earlier. And then, for example, the German or Italian ones came later. It's definitely also a matter of price and the affluence of Poles. That meant people didn't choose BMW or Aprilia or Ducati simply because they were too expensive, but also because they were hard to get. When it comes to Ducati, Aprilia, the opinion is what it is: unreliability and also poor availability of parts and service, limited knowledge of these motorcycles, and somewhere along the way, a decline as well. I'm not talking about Ducati, but about Aprilia, a decline of the brand too, a bit, which caused these models to suddenly become inadequate compared to what was available at the time, and later it started to recover.
Well, because now, it's like a wave. Because let's be honest, we have to give it to the Italian brands that really...
No, they've really moved forward, significantly improving their quality. BMW, in fact, used to be popular among a more affluent clientele. Later, it became more accessible through leasing and various forms of financing. And you can see that there are really a ton of BMWs on the road now. Of course, we can't really compare ourselves to other parts, the western parts of Europe, where when you're driving down the streets, practically all the touring bikes, I mean, well, maybe I'm exaggerating, but there are hardly any touring bikes other than BMW GSs.
But it's funny because you're in Italy, and you'd think that everyone there would be riding Ducatis, but all you see everywhere are GSs.
Exactly. So these GSs have something about them. Really, whether it's just a trend that's growing like crazy now and will eventually plateau and decline, it's hard to say, but they must be good motorcycles if people are buying them, because if they were bad, the reputation would reflect that. And regardless of what the media might say or promote, because as is often said, and I'm not really in the media myself, so I don't know exactly how it works, but of course, the rumor among motorcyclists and car drivers is that the media at any given moment will talk about or promote the motorcycle that actually the importer or manufacturer paid more for a given test or created better conditions for the journalists. Maybe there's some truth to that, maybe not. It's hard to say. Having ridden thousands of kilometers myself, getting on one, then another, then a third motorcycle multiple times, I really admire you, as well as other journalists, for being able to notice and point out so many details. So many details catch your attention. For me, what matters is time. No matter how it rides, if the motorcycle, that means it's okay. And that's kind of the benchmark. Many times it happened that even when I was riding the S1000RR, going out on the Poznan track, because that's the one closest to all our hearts. I did it there. Lap times of 1:35, 5:35, 0. That's already all the money in the world. What's going on? I can't improve my time at all. What's the deal here? It was enough to make some changes to the suspension, minor tweaks, a bit to the traction control, and basically riding much more calmly. It felt to me like I was actually going slow. I look, and it's 33.5, 33.6, 33.8. So the same motorcycle, the same rider, the same tires, the model of the tires, the type of tires, just slightly different settings. And suddenly you're riding 2 seconds faster and you feel much more confident. So distinguishing all these motorcycles are similar. That's not a challenge at all.
Once to ride fast,
Yes.
it's all about setting it up, about getting along with the motorcycle.
And now there's another significant issue that has emerged. If within a specific given country or a particular region, you happen to have a substantial amount of motorcycles, I don't know, Yamaha R1S or BMW S1000RRs, then obviously it would be foolish to go to the track and try to reinvent the wheel. I'm talking about motorcycle racing here. If you want to do it professionally, looking for something different, because in reality, if there are a lot of S1000RRs or R1S or GSXRs on the track, it turns out you have access to parts, even to knowledge. Someone will tell you, use these sprockets, this swing arm length,
but that's how it is with Honda and the Fireblade. It's a fantastic motorcycle, but I said that until a big cup appears in Europe under some great conditions, until these bikes actually start showing up on the track, it doesn't stand a chance to break through. Because you're just a person, I know a guy who's building a Fireblade for the track, great, I'll take it for a spin, but it's like, walking in the fog. Exactly. What needs to be done with it? So if there isn't some kind of breakthrough, like a cup.
Honda is the kind of motorcycle that you really don't need to improve much. At least that's how it was when I was riding it in 2009.
I think the Fireblade might have changed a bit since 2009.
It could have changed, yeah, a little bit, maybe just a minimal increase in power or something. But in 2008, I was doing 135.0 on a stock Fireblade. Back then, the engines had to be stock. You couldn't even have a power commander, nothing like that. So you really could ride those motorcycles as they were. They delivered power very smoothly. Now these motorcycles are wild. You ride them. Of course, they have traction control and all the systems, and that's the direction it went. But really, back then, those motorcycles, Suzuki was wild. Yeah, it was always aggressive. Yes, it was always aggressive. But Honda was such that when you rode it, coming out of any corner, it practically felt like, no, come on, how weak is that, right? How poor it rides.
It stuck and went out.
And it just went, nothing was holding it back. And that also meant that the driver wasn't afraid to open the throttle much earlier than on a bike that was pretty wild, that would slide out from under you. So these are the kinds of things.
Exactly, and it's like when Moto 3 comes out, then, oh, another BMW? BMW is boring. Another BMW? So, what was up with that BMW? Step by step, I also wanted to talk about how they even get to know each other, but what was up with that BMW? You rode the CBR 125, let's leave those small ones. NSR 125.
NSR 125. I rode the BMW RS 250.
Yeah, it was a cool bike. You don't have it anymore now, but it was a great machine. But later when it came, yeah, that's right. But when the later era started, you rode, what, Yamaha, Honda?
Yes, I rode them. GSXR, K5, K6, K7. K4, K4, K5, K6. That was really something. I also rode the Fireblade 954, still, right? Oh, I rode it in 2002, 2003. I guess I never had one.
Well, because you didn't do tricks.
With the magnificent Fireblade, I had this interesting story that since I was actively riding back then, it was the Honda Motopole Ventai. Managed to acquire that particular motorcycle quite cheaply, and
let's be completely honest, you always have that one particular bike that sometimes comes up as a really good deal.
Yeah, but since I was racing on a Honda, I got a bit of a better price there. After the season, I wanted to sell that motorcycle. Some buyers came over. This is a Fireblade story, by the way, which might be useful for the future. For others, something will benefit from it. That the customers came, indeed, this motorcycle. It was a motorcycle that I didn't fall on. There was nothing there. The customers knew that the motorcycle was a track bike. And then it came to price negotiations. And I remember that was the price back then. 45,000 zlotys, that was the price then. It was high, right? Yeah, very high.
The highest money was around 100?
That's right. 45,000 zlotys. And they said, we'll give 43.5. We said, I remember with my dad, no, 45,000, we won't go lower. 43.5, we won't go down to 43.5. And so we didn't sell those motorcycles. And imagine after that, this was September or October, I don't remember, we couldn't sell it until April, and it went for 35. So, as they say, if you're greedy, you end up losing. And sometimes it's really true that then when that customer comes, it's actually better.
That's what it's like with these motorcycles and racing bikes. Sometimes if you can, you have to let it go so the next one can come along right away. And these motorcycles, Honda, Yamaha, did you ever ride them at all?
I did the R1.
R1, which year?
In 2017.
In 2017, because I actually want to go back to 2012. I think that's when BMW showed up, the S1000RR.
I did in 2011, and in 2012, I rode Suzuki.
So when did you switch to BMW? Because there was a moment like that.
I switched to BMW in 2013. I was supposed to have a year off. But it didn't work out. And, well, I was supposed to have, I had a wedding and so on, some changes a bit in the company. So we decided, okay, I'll take a bit of a break there. But in the end, Eric Sikora convinced me, he said, you just be sitting around, come on, get on the BMW. So I got on that BMW and I really enjoyed riding it.
Right? Was it like that? Because I didn't finish my question. For example, Power Gorka was saying that they had an R1 and they would just go for it, something like that. And it's about praising BMW. But were those facts with the brand new S1000R, you took it out of the box, set it up with stock settings because you didn't adjust anything, and suddenly...
That's how it was. You really would get on that motorcycle. It was just right for me because I had never actually ridden anything that powerful before. I wasn't, and for me that motorcycle was definitely quite heavy and intimidating, power-wise.
Those first times when you revved it up, it was just...
I also wasn't used to traction control, so at first I basically turned it off. Later, Irek also told me, don't turn it on, listen, just play around with it so that it works well. And that was a big help too, Irek and Mike Halfili. So really, when I got on that BMW, I immediately started setting my own records. And I didn't know if it was in the second or third, probably the second race, I was already going below, like 34. So those times were really nice. And since I basically started the season with only about 3 races left, I didn't really have the stamina either because I just hadn't prepared for it. After that, we did a season of the Polish Championships, and then we went to the IDM, I think the following season. In those IDM races, I won't hide, I learned a lot. Even though my placements weren't particularly great, I genuinely did learn a significant amount. And I came back primarily because Irek had sustained a pretty serious injury at that particular time. Grzesiek Wojcik suggested that I ride a Yamaha, and in 2017 I rode a Yamaha for Grzesiek Wojcik. And that Yamaha really suited me, no question about it. It was short, really short. And I liked that you could throw it into the corners like 600. In terms of power, it really lagged behind the BMW. But when it came to electronics, it was absolutely fine in that regard. And the handling of this bike in corners was better than the S1000R. But, well, it was already a new model, which was somewhat inspired by the S1000R. And later, when the new S1000R came out, it really brought to BMW what I was missing from the Yamaha. It's as if it adopted certain things.
It's a bit less of a rocket, and perhaps not as explosively fast as some might expect, but I'm honestly quite shocked and genuinely impressed at just how much this particular motorcycle has been meticulously redesigned and thoughtfully re-engineered from the ground up, showcasing a remarkable transformation in its overall performance and aesthetic appeal. After all, this is a completely new and innovative motorcycle, a truly fresh design.
This is a completely new motorcycle. There's really nothing in common anymore, but it's incredibly powerful. The moment you get on it after riding another motorcycle, you can really feel it. At least that's how I felt that this motorcycle is really a lot more powerful. Besides, even when you go out on the straights somewhere, on different kinds of tracks, you can really feel that advantage. Compared to the Yamaha, I mean the stock, we're not talking about super bikes here, that's a whole different story. But it's true, the Yamaha is definitely very fast in the corners, definitely much faster. Even so, it can still enter the corners quite well, but when it comes to achieving optimal cornering speed or impressive acceleration on the exits, BMW can truly keep up with, or perhaps even surpass, many other prominent brands indeed. This is quite remarkable.
It's a matter of driving style, what each person prefers, what kind of team they have, because let's be honest, the team is half the success.
The second map, which I don't know if it's in the stock version, I can't remember, in this racing module, when you switch to that map, the second one, then the motorcycle, it runs like a Yamaha. This engine really runs like a Yamaha. It seems to pull better from the bottom, so that's also nice. Because when I already had that sound in the pre-season, then after one season with the Yamaha later I had a break because I had knee surgery. So it was just on and off. I rode a bit here, a bit there, a bit somewhere else. And besides last season, I didn't have that. So obviously for now, I'm a bit out of practice with riding. I think I haven't forgotten.
But still with Irek Sikora from Misho Philly, what's the setup like over there? It has been a considerable number of years, a significant passage of time since the last occurrence or interaction. Therefore, in that particular location or context, the situation is truly quite different and has evolved substantially. No, endurance. Please hold on for a moment. It is imperative that you pause and wait before proceeding, as there are crucial details or circumstances that require immediate attention and consideration before any further action can be taken. This delay is essential for ensuring the correct and safe progression of events, given the extensive period that has elapsed and the resulting changes.
Endurance. Grzesiek keeps persuading and pestering me. And that's really nice because he's an amazing person too, with a huge passion and drive. That's also important in the sport, that there are people like that who push this discipline forward so much. So it's great that it works this way and that he's still encouraging me. But I keep telling him, Grazezik, I'm already too old. I'm too old. I have other things on my mind and I just like to do things for pleasure. I know that for him, there will definitely be pleasure in it, but there's also pressure now. You're among athletes that everyone wants and everyone is pushing for results, because these are young wolves who have to, well, not have to, but want to prove themselves, who also want to achieve certain things. And that's what it's all about. And I just don't want to get in the way of this whole story.
And with LRP, did you train anything? Are you surprised? Well, BMK.
No, with LRP, it's different. I have a very good relationship. With Bartek, yes, but Bartek is also going full professional. And also,
Now we're moving forward.
yes, now he has Kamil Krezemian, who is an incredibly fast athlete, working really hard on himself. And I think, well, I quietly hope that this guy will really take us to those heights. To the heights of world racing, just like Piotrek Bizikierski, just like Daniel Blin, and we have a few other young guys as well. So let's hope that something will come of it. It's hard after all, it's hard to wait for that rider who will really,
Riders do appear, they show up.
but there's always something missing somewhere, somehow. Sometimes, in my opinion, I look at it this way, you know, now you could say I'm already old, right? 37 years old, 38, born in that year, but I also look at it from my own perspective. Sometimes there's a bit of a lack of humility. They want to jump into certain things too quickly. They don't want to wait. They don't want to spend a year, 2, 3, or 4 in the smaller classes. They just push themselves straight into 100, into the thousands, giving in a bit to the pressure of the environment. The pressure of, to put it bluntly, showing off, because it's cool to ride an R6 or an R1 and not to ride an R3 or, you know, an R5 or a Motopole. And that's also the problem. That's how I see it. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but I think there's starting to be a bit of a lack of humility. There's too much showing off on social media, too much focus on these weird things, on status. Of course, that status is important, but that status has to translate into results. Let me put it this way. Many times on the track, I've ridden behind riders who were scraping their elbows while I was practically upright behind them. Upright, so I don't know how you can go so slow on your elbow, but the photo is what matters.
Elbow riding.
The photo matters, riding corners on my elbow.
One time I tried to scrape my elbow and I was trying, because the photographer was standing there. Well, it was my job to look good in the photo.
I almost ran into him.
And I always have this problem that when I'm riding the bike well, I'm not the slowest among journalists. I ride the bike, but in the photo it looks like I'm just cruising along. So I thought, okay, I'll scrape with my elbow. And suddenly I realized that somewhere in that turn I had no idea where I was, because all I was thinking about was my elbow.
You remember, after all, how we've ridden together more than once. The journalist rides, the positionment, it looks great. You can't deny that.
It's not that we're criticizing anything, but that's not really the point when it comes to riding fast.
The position often results from the speed. Your position has to match your speed. We can't just ride on our elbow, just cruising along. You need to start working on your speed, on making the motorcycle go fast together with you. And that's something you have to work on.
For me, it's like this. There's a certain point where you have to add that position so the motorcycle is a bit more upright, so you can keep riding.
You know, I also often wonder, as I am a relatively young father now, and very soon perhaps I will be a father to even more children.
An old motorcyclist, a young father?
Yes, maybe I'll experience the same thing. Maybe I'll go through that too. I'll experience it, but I wonder what would happen to my psyche, how much I really was. Stupid in life and stupid in terms of various succumbing to certain trends.